We have been talking about our mindset and we have been talking about trauma, and then we've brought those together and talked about how important our mindset is in overcoming trauma. So I'm just going to do a nice review quickly. Our mindset is just really what we set our mind to, okay, what we allow our thoughts to be. We do get to choose those thoughts. Sometimes it feels like they're pushed on us by our circumstance, but reality is, even in the most difficult of circumstances, we do get to choose our thoughts. Some of those circumstances make it very difficult to choose different thoughts, but over time, we usually are able to look back on that. If you're in a circumstance right now that is really challenging, give yourself lots of love, lots of grace, and know that in the upcoming season, you will probably be able to look back on that story and hopefully see how God used it. So that's what our mindset is. Trauma is something we hear a lot about in our current climate we live in. And because we live in a fallen world and pretty much everybody has at least a little bit of trauma, we call it big T or little t trauma. That's a part of living in the fallen world. We kind of don't escape without some type of a struggle, trials, tribulations, etc. And sure, what's someone's little t might be a big T to you, and the vice versa. Someone's big T might be a little t to you of trauma. But regardless, we all have it. And it simply is defined by anything that we are not able to process. Maybe it causes us to be a little dysregulated and we just feel like we're not able to process it. That would be considered trauma. So if that helps to clear those words up for you, I know you probably hear them. You hear me say them. You may hear them a lot in circles you're in or maybe on social media, but that's the simplest and best definitions that I feel like I have wrapped my mind around. First of all, think about how God designed our body. He knows what we're able to handle. He also knows how our mind is designed to work because He designed it. And some of those basic concepts, He actually designed our brain to keep us safe, to conserve energy, and also to seek pleasure. Those are like the most primal design of our brain. When you apply that to life and you think about it, what is my brain doing in this situation to keep me safe? If you've been through trauma, it's probably doing something to keep you safe, to keep you from repeating that or staying out of that situation. It's likely doing things to help conserve your energy because it doesn't like for us to expend extra energy. I like to think about that one as maybe you're a person who has great plans to work out and your brain keeps saying, no, let's just save that energy, right? So that's a way that it conserves your energy. Another one is seeking pleasure. I'm sure we can all think of ways that our brain likes for us to have pleasure. Like if you're a person who loves chocolate chip cookies, that's pleasure to you. So your brain wants you to have pleasure, right? It doesn't want you to have pain, and it wants you to save your energy. So sit on the couch, don't do anything adventurous, and eat all the cookies, right? We know that we could do that, but that is not really living out God's best purposes for our life. Nothing wrong with those things, but if that's all we do, we could be missing out on something much, much more beautiful. One thing I wanted to review also with you guys, the whole concept of fight, flight, or freeze, because to some of you that might have been a terminology when we introduced it several weeks ago. But whenever your body is just normal and all is flowing, okay, that will be like when you get the green light. Okay, so I'm going to draw on here just for a reminder. I love the visual aids. I think it's that second grade teacher coming up. But here we go. So this is like normal, okay? Normal stuff, green light. Okay, it's just going to go and flow. All right, we feel safe, we feel comfortable. We don't have any reservations or any cautions going on. But when we hop up into that yellow light, okay, that's whenever we have caution. That's whenever we probably have that feeling that we need to either fight the bear, okay, or flee. So that's called fight or flight. So this would be your fight or flight. Okay, so when you're in a circumstance and you just feel that need to either fight, resist the circumstance, do something to change the circumstance, or you need to flee. Okay, and again, we're designed, going back to the way our brain is designed, we're designed to do that. That's God's purpose for us. It's how He designed us, is that we can fight the bears off. Even when there's not a bear, our body thinks that we need to fight it off if there's danger or perceived danger. And that's a really important concept to remember. Most of us are probably not fighting off real bears. Now, I'm just going to tell you guys, I went on a walk today, and if I had proceeded one more step, that step would have landed on a snake. So I could have been right here in fight or flight. Thankfully, kept my wits about me. I did step back because I couldn't immediately identify what kind of a snake it was, but I stepped back and realized that it was likely a rat snake or an oak snake, my husband said. So no real danger, but I still didn't proceed to step on the snake. The concept is, okay, I did flee. I didn't want to fight the snake. I decided to flee. So I just backtracked out of his path, let him go on about his merry way. And then I continued my walk. But anyway, the brain's initial reaction to something like that or to a bear is to fight or flee. So that's why this one's up here. And then the last one is what we call our freeze mode. And that is when your body actually goes into survival mode. This is whenever you find yourself stuck on the couch scrolling and unable to move forward. A lot of people describe this as feeling stuck, as feeling basically unable to complete a goal, unable to maybe even figure out what goal you have. A lot of people that I talk with, that's what they describe themselves as feeling. These are very common. We might even experience these all within one day. It's important to be able to use some language with yourself, like I did today with the snake, and say, you know what? It's a rat snake, Stephanie. You're going to be okay. This is a friendly snake to have around. I don't have to run or anything like that. I'm good. It's fine. Let him be about his business. And confirmed it with those people who are more snake experts than myself, my husband and my brother. And they're like, yeah, let him go. He's fine. But the point of it is to be able to recognize where you are. So I jump back down into go with the flow. So remember this. It's a good tool for all of us to have. You may be wondering, so how do I know where I am? I just gave you a visual aid with the snake. That's easy. But like in day-to-day life, how do I know where I am? And there are certainly some things that might indicate to you that you're in one of those. So let's just go over those real quickly. If you are in fight or flight, or freeze, you may actually be experiencing extreme fatigue, tension. You may feel overwhelmed, stressed, stuck. If you have goals that you have been able to set and you can't move forward, you feel like you're procrastinating, it can be a response to trauma, and that would be in your freeze mode. Also considered survival mode. You may have heard those terms before. This little test, you guys can do it with me. This is a new tool to me, so I've only had a little bit of experience with it, but we'll see if it's true. So you're supposed to put your finger under your nose, and then you simply breathe out. And when you do, notice what side you actually feel the air coming out of, your right or left side. If you felt the air on your left or right nostril, if you feel the air coming out of the right side, you are likely in a sympathetic nervous system response, which would be your fight or flight. So remember, this is your sympathetic, and this is your sympathetic. This one is your parasympathetic. So just think about which one you're in. And the sympathetic would be your fight or flight, okay, and freeze. And then the parasympathetic is like your left nostril, and it's more when you feel like you're in a rest mode, go with the flow, okay? Now, we talked a good bit about things that we can do to help if we feel like we are in fight or flight. Not only do we need to recognize it, but what can we do to help? Slowing down is a really good one. I mean, why are we all in such a hurry? It's amazing to me when you really stop and think about it. I've questioned myself many times before. Why am I in a hurry? Like I can get this done effectively with good timing, but why rush through it? Like just do it. Just do it. Don't feel like you have to scrub that pan. Just scrub the pan. Maybe put on a podcast, listen and scrub. You know what I mean? There's something very calming to that. Speaking of, evaluating our to-do list and really seeing we have often got never-ending to-do lists. Are you like that? I know I have been. I literally will move things from my to-do list to the next day over and over until I do it. It's like this looming thing, right? You're like, oh, I've got to do it. I've got to do it. Got to do it. Well, what if we just start saying, you know what? I'm going to check off 2 things today. That's it. That's what I have time for. That's what fits me for today. And just kind of give yourself grace and mercy for that. And when you do them, reward yourself. Say, yay, I finished 2 things. I did 2 of those big things I needed to do today. And then don't say, oh, well, now that I did those, now I should go clean that closet out. No, because then you don't get to really enjoy that you completed that task. And there's something that is very therapeutic to actually completing and checking off a task. So make sure you do that. We did talk about some of the things that you can do, like putting your hand to your chest actually releases oxytocin and helps you to begin the process of regulating your own nervous system. A hug with someone helps with co-regulation. They say it should be like at least 15 seconds, maybe longer, to really get that benefit. Reminding yourself that you have peace with God. Romans 5:1. Have peace with God. He keeps us in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on him. We have peace with God. He is our peace. He has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. That's a great one to focus on. I feel myself reminding some people of that frequently that I love. And it's a good thing to be reminded of. It's a good thing to remind myself of. A few of the things we can do that are like more tangible things. For example, there is this place under your collarbone right here that you can massage. It actually helps to regulate your nervous system. You can also do what's called tapping. There's places that you can tap right here. And I like to do this and combine it with that verse. You know, say something as simple as I have a sound mind. I have peace with God. He is my strength. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Those are just some of the things that you can do to help you. Because remember, what happens if we don't manage our stress, it starts to manage us. And it actually signals our body to create more cortisol, which we don't want. Because when we have a higher cortisol, there's some things that happen. For example, we're going to have fatigue, the blood pressure goes up, the hormones get wonky, mood swings, we might be irritable, anxious, or depressed. We can have acne, headaches, feel thirsty, have irregular cycles, low libido, numbing, buffering type habits, like we talked about, fight or flight, sitting on the couch, or even back up into the freeze mode, literally doing nothing sometimes. And then a very common one with cortisol is having weight gain around the belly. Just remember how important that is to manage our stress so that we do not experience those things. We worked through several different creation models with a couple people last week. I want you just to remember that you really are in charge of your thoughts. You have agency over your thought. You get to choose your thoughts. Even if you have a circumstance that might be causing you to feel stressed, remember, you can choose your thoughts about the circumstance. The circumstance itself isn't actually what's making us feel stressed. It's our thoughts about the circumstance. Example, maybe you have a difficult relationship going on in your life. You know what? I think that's one of the most common things that my one-on-one clients talk about is a difficult relationship. Because you know what? We're all sinners. None of us are perfect. We are not married to perfect people. We haven't birthed perfect people. We weren't birthed by perfect people. So literally all the way around, there's lots of opportunity for us to kind of be like sandpaper to each other and rub each other a little bit the wrong way without meaning to. So you have to remember that whatever your thoughts are about that relationship, you cannot have a better relationship than your thoughts about it. I have experienced this firsthand. I know that some of my thoughts about a relationship was causing problems, even more than what may have been there, if that makes sense. And so, whenever you recognize that in yourself, take that thought captive and run it through the filter of what God says to be true. And ask Him to give you thoughts that would serve you and that relationship better. He'll do it. I am living proof that He will do it. Now, sometimes we may have gone through trauma and we may be experiencing something in our current life, in a relationship, that triggers or reminds us of that trauma. For example, if you were someone that was abandoned as a child and you have this feeling that someone is going to abandon you in your current life, you may come across very clingy or unable to say goodbye, let go. Thinking about those types of goodbyes that we have, those things whenever you have a new chapter starting. Maybe you have a dear friend that's moving. And those goodbyes are so much harder when they are triggering that childhood wound of when we were abandoned. So again, you can come back and use some of those tools that I mentioned earlier, some of the tapping, deep breathing. There's so many options for how to deep breathe. Even if you never remember the exact rhythms and stuff, just simply the act of deep breathing itself, just do it. Like go for a walk. Walking, deep breathing, all of these things lower your cortisol and help put you back in the driver's seat with your emotions, with your stress, with your thoughts. And that's going to affect how you show up. We all want to show up as awesome that we are, that God designed us to be. I hope some of these things will help you to step into that and feel more confident in the roles that God has given you. Sometimes it takes sitting down and journaling some of these emotions, like literally putting pen to paper. There's something dynamic about that. Can't always explain it, but I know with many of my one-on-one clients, it has been one of the simplest tools, but yet the most life-changing tools because they start to see what they're thinking and how their thoughts are creating their actions. Check out the show notes below where you will find information about my group program where we work on all of this and even more. See you inside the Hope Collective, where you will find weekly coaching, a private podcast, community, and so much more. Come join us.